Hi, welcome to Tim Gonen's reading of his blogs. This one's called The Final Truth. There is within us all a kind of finality which, when reached, excludes all internal duplicities. The hills and valleys of life never fail to deliver to each of us, at some point, the necessary circumstances in which we are forced to admit that a lot of what we spend our time doing is less than crucial to the greater scheme of things. The sum of this fact is simply that there exists empirically a divide between what really matters and what does not. What matters then? It is not politeness or punctuality, prudence or poverty, or even professionalism or perseverance. What really matters is life, and the people that live those lives, because whether we are rich or poor, we all have the same basic needs, and the primary need that binds us all is love. Newborn babies know this, as do children, no matter how blessed or neglected. It is only after we have been exposed long enough to the twisted manner and logic of this world that we might finally forget that fact. And what is love? If it is not kindness and care for others, but in the absence of this, which a great deal of the world seems to be, weeds of self-interest arise, bearing thorns of malice, resentment and greed. Life, choked with such deadly hedgerows, becomes a battleground, littered with dead and dying souls, starved of all goodness and decency. What chance for people reduced to such a state to demonstrate the stellar potentials that all human beings bear? And if we all did demonstrate to each other loving kindness, would it then be easier to admit what is truly real? We choose in life to follow the path of love or hate. How do we know which path we have chosen? If we continually feel bitter, angry, resentful, hurt, and our only joy is the sorrow of others, then that path is the path of hate, which leads to evil. If, on the other hand, we feel happiness in our good, kind, and helpful acts towards others, then we have chosen the path of love, which leads to goodness. But the sum of these things is yet to be calculated, for even in doing good, we will only do good part of the time, imperfect as we are, and the other part of the time we will make mistakes and have regrets. At the rise upon which good acts are done, there is, however, the opportunity to see further, for we are elevated morally just for a moment by our good deed. What is to be seen? A glimpse of some kind of eternity, perhaps. There is at times of wonder in our lives a sense of the eternal. It is true, but even this might not take us all the way to the end of our self, quote unquote. To reach this point, we must be broken of all internal and external illusions. Whether good or evil, we will all reach this point. And when we do, it is the past that will determine our reaction to what we find at life's lowest ebb. If it is by doing evil that we reach this point, then the choice to be made there will be a hard one indeed, for in that instant we would have to confront the monster that we had become, and reconcile it to a universe which on closer examination we have discovered to be both intrinsically ethical and moral, whereas we had not been these things at all. For those that strive to do what is right, however, such a low ebb in life would bring peace. For we would know that in spite of everything there is justice that flows naturally into the world at all times and places, albeit from an unseen hand. So the final truth is something like this. We must all at some point make an informed choice to be either aligned or misaligned to the moral compass that ultimately guides human destiny. Those that are misaligned are that way precisely because their life experiences has taught them that people seem to be able to get away with things, but they fail to follow the fortunes of the wicked, who, without fail, meet an end, and that end is the sure sign of justice for us all. For what boast can one make from the grave? Rather, the grave boasts over all, and the good and the wicked alike. The good, however, will rise in peace, but the wicked will writhe in torment. How can it be any other way? If the spirit lives on without a body, a lifetime of evil deeds will produce a twisted and bitter soul that, existing only with itself for company, will become its own worst enemy. The soul of the righteous, on the other hand, the soul of a person who knew peace in its lifetimes by always seeking to be helpful and good, will live easily with itself, not having to face a twisted monster lurking within the depths of a mind that spent a lifetime plotting evil. But I presume the soul lives on after death. What is certain, however, is that the end will come to us all, and that we are all in fact designed to do good, not evil. How do I know this is true? I know it is true because only by practicing kindness to each other can human beings hope to continue as a whole at all. We are programmed to procreate, multiply, and fill every biospace with our presence. With cooperation, only possible if all do good to one another all the time, we might have ruled the stars. As it is, we can't even rule our own tempers half of the time. Let me summarize like this. If it is true that we each reach a point at which we know self-interest is futile, why exist this way at all? Our souls, bared of conceit by circumstances, might as well acknowledge what is most obvious of all, which is simply that a moral universe, ex nihilo, from nothing, is created by a moral being, to which we each will owe an account. And there's no good saying death will hide us from such a being, or that oblivion will erase the memory of our deeds. For a being capable of making a world such as ours is both capable of bringing us back from the grave for judgment and passing and executing the sentence deemed appropriate. Inner truth is not so much that kind actions bear the fruit of goodness in our lives, though this is certainly so, but rather that we will in the end have to make a choice, within the context of our lifetime, whether to love or hate God. Even if we do good, we might resent the fact that God seems to have left this world to its own sad devices, and so find empathy a path to hating that which is truly good, which is only God. The evildoer, on the other hand, when confronted with God as a fact, rather than a nursery rhyme, might turn from evil to stumble along afterwards, trying to please the otherwise invisible and mysterious creator of the spaces they find themselves in. So which is it to be for us? God exists beyond the ferocity of our daily grind, waiting patiently for us to notice him. When we do, by hook or crook, what will our reaction be? Love or hate, rebellion or obedience? Only the whirligig of time can tell.